Under the brilliant June sunshine streaming through the windows of my Boston Financial District office, I gazed out at the harbor below. My heart felt heavy as memories of the past came flooding back with painful clarity. Today marked 25 years since my dad Elliot passed away on my 10th birthday. My life transformed completely the day after his funeral. I was just a little girl suddenly forced to become an adult, watching my mom Vivian collapse in tears while clutching my younger sister Tiffany. I made a decision right then. I was the only one who could hold this family together. Cassidy, could you review the Johnson portfolio one more time before the presentation? Nathan's message alert on my smartwatch pulled me back to reality. I smiled, nodded, and returned my attention to my desk. It had been 8 years since I'd established Morgan Financial Advisors. Though we started small, we'd grown into one of the most respected advisory firms in the community. The journey through college, earning my MBA at night school, training at a top-tier firm, and finally launching my own business was anything but easy. I had to overcome every obstacle essentially alone, with virtually no support from my family. Cassidy, you can't possibly run your own firm, my mom had said with that dismissive tone I knew too well. You should stick with a stable company. To my ears, her words always translated to impossible, you can't, give up. But my dad Elliot had been completely different. He would look directly into my eyes, his gaze filled with unwavering confidence, and tell me, people will try to convince you it's impossible, but those are their limitations, not yours. With his words permanently etched into my heart, I kept pushing forward despite all odds. Throughout high school, I maintained perfect grades while juggling multiple part-time jobs. I earned a full scholarship to college through sheer determination. I worked evenings and weekends to support my family financially while completing my degree. Tiffany, however, lived in an entirely different reality. She basked constantly in mom's affection, proudly called the family jewel, at every opportunity. Whatever Tiffany desired, she received immediately, regardless of our tight budget, dance classes, designer clothes, exclusive summer programs. While I learned discipline and sacrifice, Tiffany developed the belief that her wants deserved immediate fulfillment. Sis, you're all work and no play, Tiffany said dismissively when she was in her 20s. You need to actually enjoy life sometime. Behind those casual words, I wondered if either of them realized my income was funding both my mom's lifestyle and Tiffany's Instagram perfect existence. After college graduation, Tiffany never committed to steady employment, bouncing between brief stints in customer service roles and temporary office positions while building her influencer presence. My phone vibrated against the polished surface of my desk. I glanced at the screen and felt my stomach tighten. My mom was calling. I hesitated for a moment, my finger hovering over the screen before I finally answered. Mom, what is it? I tried to keep my voice neutral. Cassidy, wonderful news. Her voice trembled with excitement. Tiffany is engaged. I couldn't mask my surprise, my eyes widening as I gripped the phone tighter. I had no idea my sister had been in a serious relationship. Nothing on her Instagram had indicated anything beyond casual dating. That's... Congratulations. Who's the lucky one? I managed to respond. His name is Blake, an amazing man. He's the CEO of a tech startup and absolutely brilliant, mom's voice swelled with pride. He's going to take her into an entirely different world. I see, I replied flatly, feeling that familiar hollowness settle in my chest. This was the story of my life. Tiffany's happiness and achievements always took center stage, while my own successes were barely acknowledged. And Cassidy, my mom's tone shifted subtly. I immediately tensed, recognizing that change in her voice all too well. She was about to ask for something about the wedding. Just as I expected, I thought bitterly. I took a deep breath and waited silently for her request. Tiffany dreams of having the perfect wedding, but we're a bit short on funds, Mom continued, her words carefully measured. You're a successful businesswoman now, aren't you? Could you help with your sister's special once-in-a-lifetime celebration? From somewhere in the background, I could hear Tiffany's voice chiming in. Sis, please. I need my wedding to be absolutely perfect. I turned to stare out the window, watching as sunlight glinted off the harbor waters below. What would my dad say if he were here now? How much do you need? I finally asked, my voice steady. About $30,000, Mom answered with casual ease. That's not really much for someone like you, right? I felt a sharp pain shoot through my chest. $30,000, the exact amount I'd been setting aside for my firm's expansion plan. But this is what family means, isn't it? No matter how much they hurt you, blood ties aren't easily broken. All right, I answered quietly. I want to be there for the ceremony and see Tiffany's happy face. Of course. I'll send all the details soon, Mom responded joyfully. Tiffany, Cassidy's going to help us. I could hear my sister's excited squeals in the background. I ended the call and turned back to the window, watching boats cut through the harbor water. As I confirmed the digital transfer and closed the banking app, a familiar anxiety began creeping into my heart. The $30,000 wasn't insignificant to me by any measure. It would push back my office expansion plans by at least a year, delaying everything I'd worked toward. But more than the money itself, what truly troubled me was the reaction, or lack thereof, from my mom and sister. An hour had passed since I'd sent the message "I transfer complete," but my notification screen remained empty. I stared at my phone, aware that my hope for acknowledgement was probably foolish. I wasn't expecting effusive gratitude, just some basic recognition of what I'd given up. A message from my mom finally appeared that evening, confirmed. Thanks. That was all. Nothing whatsoever from Tiffany. I sighed deeply and tried to refocus on work. I attempted to concentrate on my client's portfolio, but my thoughts kept drifting to the wedding. I realized I still hadn't been told any concrete details about the date or venue. The next morning, I mustered my courage and called Tiffany. Hey, have you guys settled on a wedding date yet? I asked, forcing a cheerful tone. Oh, we're still deciding. Tiffany's voice sounded distracted and hurried. We're looking at several venues, but don't worry, I'll let you know once everything's confirmed. Is there anything I can help with? I offered genuinely. Maybe with the invitations or planning? No, it's all good. Mom's handling everything. Sorry, I've got to run, I'm heading out. Talk later. Before the call disconnected, I distinctly heard the sound of female laughter in the background. I tried to convince myself it was nothing. 1 week passed, then another. Still, no wedding details were shared with me. Every time I called or messaged, I received the same responses: not finalized yet, or too busy to talk. 3 weeks later, on a Saturday afternoon, I found myself browsing through a boutique for a suitable dress. Though I hadn't been given any date, I figured I should be prepared. I discovered a stunning emerald green dress that hugged my figure perfectly when I tried it on. That color is absolutely gorgeous on you, the saleswoman commented. Special occasion? My sister's wedding, I smiled. The date isn't set yet, but I want to be ready. As I was leaving the store, I literally bumped into Jenna, Tiffany's best friend. Jenna. I called out. It's been forever. Oh. Cassidy, her expression showed surprise and discomfort. How are you doing? Great. Just bought a dress for Tiffany's wedding, I lifted my shopping bag. Have you seen her lately? She must be swamped with wedding plans. Yes, I have seen her, Jenna shifted her gaze away, clearly uncomfortable. She's been really busy. Any idea when the ceremony might be happening? I really couldn't say, Jenna suddenly glanced at her wrist. Sorry, I'm late for something. See you around. She hurried away before I could respond. I felt something wasn't right about Jenna's behavior, but I shrugged it off and headed home. She was probably just in a rush. That evening, I scrolled through Tiffany's Instagram feed. Her recent posts showed wedding dress fittings, cake tastings, and what looked like venue tours. My mom and all of Tiffany's friends were tagged in these posts, but my name was conspicuously absent. I was funding this entire celebration, why wasn't I being included in any of the preparations? I had naturally assumed I would be involved as family. The next morning, as I sipped my coffee, a text notification finally appeared from my mom. Wedding is a week later, 3 p.m. at the Harborview Hotel. That was it, no formal invitation, no details, nothing else. I immediately responded, got it. Found a perfect dress too. Any other details I should know? Ceremony outline? Rehearsal dinner timing? My mom's reply arrived after a considerable delay. You'll see everything when you arrive. We'll inform about rehearsal later. I frowned at my phone screen. I couldn't shake the feeling of being treated like an unwelcome outsider. Still, I rationalized that wedding planning is stressful. Perhaps Tiffany was overwhelmed by her first major life event. That week, I booked a hair appointment and selected a small, meaningful gift. It was a delicate silver bracelet with "Always Love" engraved inside the band. This phrase had been our special sisterly bond since childhood. Friday night, I sent Tiffany one final message, all set for tomorrow. What time should I come by in the morning? Happy to help with hair, makeup, or anything else you need. An hour later, Tiffany replied, everything's already taken care of. Just be at the hotel by 3 o'clock. That's all you need to do. I felt a sharp pain in my chest at her words. Wasn't it customary for sisters to spend the wedding morning together? Still, I didn't push back and simply replied, understood. Looking forward to it. On Saturday morning, I woke with the first light of dawn. Outside my window, the June sky stretched clear and blue with a gentle early summer breeze. I took my time with breakfast, then showered and carefully styled my hair and applied my makeup. Looking at my reflection in the mirror, I felt satisfied as I slipped into the emerald green dress with its elegantly cut shoulders and knee-length hem. The dress highlighted my professional poise while still feeling celebratory. Glancing at the clock, I saw it was only noon. With the venue about 40 minutes away, I had plenty of time to spare. I settled onto my sofa with a cup of coffee, trying to ignore the growing uneasiness in my stomach. Almost instinctively, I checked Tiffany's Instagram one more time and froze at what I saw. A photo posted just last night carried the caption, "Pre-wedding celebration with my favorites." #Morgan Bride Squad. The image showed Tiffany, my mom, Jenna, and several other friends laughing with champagne glasses raised. My heart sank like a stone. A pre-wedding party that I knew nothing about? I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself. It was probably just an impromptu gathering of her close friends, I reasoned aloud. Today's ceremony is what really matters. But deep in my chest, the feeling that something was terribly wrong continued to grow. The Harborview Hotel stood as one of Boston's most prestigious landmarks, a stunning blend of historic architecture and modern luxury that attracted elite weddings. As my car pulled into the circular driveway, my heart pounded against my ribs. After handing my keys to the valet and retrieving the small gift bag, I walked into the grand lobby. Crystal chandeliers hung from soaring ceilings while marble floors amplified the sound of my heels, the space exuding sophistication and elegance. Which way to the Morgan wedding? I asked the doorman with a warm smile. The man looked momentarily confused before directing me toward the reception desk. You might want to check at the front desk, ma'am. I nodded and approached reception, maintaining my composure. My emerald dress complemented the hotel's luxurious atmosphere perfectly, and I noticed appreciative glances from other guests. At least I'd chosen well for the occasion. The receptionist greeted me with a professional smile. Welcome to the Harborview Hotel. How may I assist you today? Hello, I responded brightly. I'm here for the Morgan wedding, Tiffany Morgan and Blake Reynolds. The receptionist's expression immediately shifted. Confusion flickered across her face as she consulted her computer screen. The Morgan wedding? She repeated. Yes, scheduled for 3 p.m. today, I confirmed. She checked her system again before looking back at me with visible discomfort. I'm so sorry, but the wedding of Ms. Morgan and Mr. Reynolds was held yesterday at 3 p.m. For a moment, I couldn't process her words. No, there must be some mistake, I insisted, my voice rising. It's today. I'm the bride's sister. The receptionist checked once more and shook her head apologetically. According to our records, the Morgan Reynolds wedding definitely took place yesterday afternoon. It was quite spectacular. I was working, so I remember it clearly. The blood drained from my face. My knees weakened, and the lobby seemed to tilt and spin around me. This has to be some kind of mistake, I stammered, my voice trembling. I was invited. I have the message right here. With shaking hands, I pulled out my phone and showed her my mom's text. Wedding is a week later, 3 p.m. at the Harborview Hotel. Today was Saturday, and it was now 2:25 p.m. The receptionist examined my screen with genuine sympathy. The term 1 week later can be confusing. When was this message sent? I checked the date stamp. The message had been sent the previous Saturday. From that perspective, a week later would technically refer to yesterday, an intentionally ambiguous phrasing. There must be some confusion, I pleaded. Could you please double-check? The receptionist nodded kindly. Of course. She tapped at her keyboard and then retrieved a printed document. Here's yesterday's event schedule. You can see it listed here: Morgan Reynolds' wedding, grand ballroom, 3 p.m., with ceremony completed as planned. I stared at the paper, but the words blurred before my eyes. This can't be happening, I thought desperately. I took a deep breath, fighting for control. Thank you, I managed in a small voice. Could I sit down somewhere? Of course, she gestured toward a seating area. Right over there. Would you like some water? I nodded numbly and made my way to the indicated sofa. Sitting on the plush velvet cushions, I couldn't stop my hands from trembling. My mind raced through possibilities. Had I misunderstood the date? No, I checked my mom's message repeatedly. Could the hotel records be incorrect? But the receptionist had personally witnessed yesterday's ceremony. The woman brought me a glass of water. Are you all right? Should I call someone for you? I'll handle it, I replied, pulling out my phone with unsteady fingers. I found Tiffany's contact and pressed call. After 4 rings, she answered. Cassidy? Tiffany's voice sounded carefree and bright. In the background, I could hear ocean waves and laughter. Tiffany, I said, my voice catching. I'm at the Harborview Hotel, and they're telling me the wedding. Oh, her tone registered not surprise but slight annoyance. You're at the hotel? Yes, and the receptionist says the wedding was yesterday. I couldn't continue speaking. After a brief pause, Tiffany's laughter floated through the phone. That's right. We had it yesterday. It was absolutely magical. Everyone had an amazing time. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. But why? Your message said the ceremony was today. Oh, did you misunderstand? Tiffany's voice held more casualness than remorse. When we said 1 week later, we obviously meant yesterday from last week's perspective. Anger and grief surged through me, making my chest burn. Why didn't you give me the exact date? Why wasn't I invited? I gave you $30,000. And we're so grateful. Tiffany chirped. Thanks to your contribution, we had the most incredible ceremony. We're currently enjoying our honeymoon in Hawaii with Mom and Blake. In the background, I heard my mom's laughter. Is that Cassidy? Tell her thanks so much. I sat frozen, feeling disconnected from reality. My hard-earned $30,000, money I'd saved for expanding my business, had funded a wedding I was deliberately excluded from, and now they were vacationing in Hawaii on my dime. Tiffany, I managed to force out, why? After a moment of silence, her voice returned, now cooler and more calculated. To be honest, Cassidy, I thought you'd ruin the vibe. You're always so serious and uptight. I didn't want you to bring down the energy on my perfect day. Her words pierced my heart like a physical blow. Fighting back tears, I finally said, enjoy your trip. I ended the call before she could respond. I stood alone in the magnificent lobby of the Harborview Hotel. My carefully styled hair, meticulously chosen dress, and thoughtfully prepared gift bag now seemed like cruel mockery of my hopes. A single tear traced a path down my cheek. I couldn't distinguish whether it sprang from rage or heartbreak. Directionless and numb, I made my way to my car and simply sat gripping the steering wheel. After several minutes of stunned silence, I found myself calling Rebecca. Rebecca, can we meet right now? My voice sounded hollow even to my own ears. Cassidy, what's wrong? How was the wedding? Rebecca's voice immediately filled with concern. There was no wedding, I replied flatly. I need to tell you everything. Can I come over? 30 minutes later, I sat on Rebecca's sleek leather sofa in her downtown condo, still wearing my emerald dress with mascara streaked across my face. I recounted everything that had happened. Rebecca, a corporate attorney, listened intently, her expression darkening with each detail I shared. Those absolute monsters. She exploded the moment I finished. This is textbook fraud. You need to sue them immediately. Her eyes flashed with professional indignation and personal outrage. Fraud? I echoed, my voice hollow with exhaustion. They're still my family. Being related by blood doesn't give them the right to treat you this way, Rebecca insisted, her tone leaving no room for argument. You provided $30,000 with the clear understanding you'd attend the wedding. They deliberately misled you. That's a clear breach of contract, family or not. I turned to stare out the window at the Boston skyline. I just can't process this right now. I can't comprehend why they would do something so deliberately cruel. Rebecca moved closer on the sofa and took my hand firmly in hers. It's completely okay to cry. It's perfectly fine to be angry. But don't let them walk away from this. Yet, strangely, my eyes remained dry. Something essential inside me had crystallized. A feeling sharper and colder than mere sadness had taken root in my heart. That night, I tossed in Rebecca's guest room, unable to sleep. I scrolled through Tiffany's Instagram feed. Her wedding photos appeared one after another. My mom helping Tiffany with her veil. Blake and Tiffany exchanging vows at the altar. Moments from the extravagant reception my money had purchased. Not a single mention of me, I'd been completely erased. The comments overflowed with a stunning ceremony, perfect day, and precious family moments. The words, precious family moments, cut through me like glass. The next morning, Rebecca had breakfast prepared and documents spread across her table. Good morning, she greeted with determination. I did some digging last night. I accepted the coffee, eyeing the papers. Digging. I've scheduled an appointment with Dominic Torres today. He specializes in corporate fraud. I couldn't hide my apprehension. Rebecca, are you serious about legal action? It's just a consultation for now. But I think you should check your company's financial records. If your mom did this, she might have done more. Her words sent tension through my body. It was a possibility I didn't want to consider, but experience taught me that ignoring uncomfortable truths only leads to greater damage. All right, I conceded. Let's meet Dominic. That afternoon, we sat in Torres's downtown office. He listened as I recounted everything. There are grounds for a civil case, he confirmed. Do you have documentation of the transfer? And evidence the funds were provided on condition of attending the wedding. I showed him the text exchanges with my mom. I highlighted where I wrote, I want to be there for the ceremony and see Tiffany's happy face, and her response, of course. I'll send all the details soon. This is compelling evidence, Torres nodded. I also recommend examining your company's finances. When family members breach trust, it rarely happens just once. I decided to audit my firm's financial records. Nathan and I spent 3 days examining every transaction from the past 5 years. What we found confirmed my fears. There have been numerous unauthorized transactions under Vivian Morgan's credentials, Nathan reported. They were cleverly hidden, but the pattern is clear. The total is approximately $22,000. I felt the blood drain from my face. My mom had been systematically stealing from me for years. How was this possible? I asked, barely audible. Remember adding your mother as an administrative assistant when you launched the firm? My memory surfaced. When starting my business, I'd created a position for her with a modest salary. She rarely performed actual work, but I hadn't minded. She had exploited that position to divert small amounts over time. I returned to Torres with the evidence. He reviewed it thoroughly and nodded. This shows clear fraud and embezzlement. You have grounds for a civil lawsuit and potentially criminal charges. Criminal charges? My chest tightened. That could mean prison for my mom. That's possible, Torres said quietly. But that decision is yours. I gazed out the window. The June sunlight bathed the city. I searched for memories of when my mom and sister truly loved me but wondered if even those were illusions. Let's start with the civil suit, I decided. And there's a joint investment account in their names. Can we freeze it? The lawyer smiled slightly. Absolutely. On the final day of their Hawaiian honeymoon, Tiffany, my mom Vivian, and Blake lounged by the resort's pool, sipping cocktails. Any word from Cassidy? Blake asked, showing mild concern. Nothing at all, Tiffany shrugged. She's probably still upset, but she'll get over it. She always does. Mom nodded. Cassidy has always been too responsible. I wish she'd learn to enjoy life. They laughed and raised their glasses. A year later, on Christmas Eve, my new home glowed with warmth and light. A year had transformed my life entirely. Morgan Financial Advisors had expanded, with a new office and 3 additional staff. We'd become one of Boston's most respected financial firms. Cassidy, does this look right? Zoe called from the living room where she arranged ornaments on the Christmas tree. She was a young woman I'd met through my financial literacy program, determined to build independence. I'd become her mentor, and our weekly financial counseling had grown into a meaningful friendship. Perfect, Zoe, I smiled. You have an amazing eye. Adrian appeared in the kitchen doorway, wiping his hands. He directed a nonprofit and had been dating me for 6 months after we met volunteering. Dinner's almost ready. It'll be done before everyone arrives. Tonight, I was hosting Christmas for participants from my financial program. This was true family to me now, connections built on mutual respect and support. The lawsuit had concluded 3 months ago. I won the civil case, securing the return of the $30,000 wedding money and the $22,000 my mom had embezzled. I decided against criminal charges, though the courtroom confrontation became a turning point in my life. Blake and Tiffany's marriage unraveled soon after Hawaii. Blake couldn't stand Tiffany's behavior and the financial deceptions revealed during the trial, and after 6 months, they separated. Their divorce was ongoing. After her daughter's marriage collapsed, my mom moved into Tiffany's apartment, both struggling financially. Tiffany's Instagram lifestyle became unsustainable, and Blake's support payments weren't enough. My phone rang, and I glanced at the screen. It was my mom calling again, the 10th time in just 2 weeks. I took a deep breath and accepted the call. Hello, Mom, I said, keeping my voice steady and calm. Cassidy, my mom's voice sounded weaker, lacking its usual entitlement. Since it's Christmas, Tiffany and I were hoping we might see you, just for a little while. Do you need money? I asked directly. A telling silence hung on the other end of the line. We're family, she finally said. I've learned what real family truly means, I replied, looking through the window at the falling snow. In the living room, Zoe and Adrian were laughing together, helping others decorate cookies. Even with blood ties, if there's no respect or care between people, you can't call it family. You and I aren't family anymore. Live your own life, I said gently but firmly. I've already started walking a different path. When I ended the call, Adrian came over and wrapped his arm around my shoulders. Are you all right? He asked with genuine concern. I smiled. Yes, completely. I returned to the warmth of the family I had chosen for myself. Outside, snowflakes continued their silent descent, heralding the beginning of a new year.